So it's kind of ready to use. And there is another Python-based application, Flask, which we use on a kind of daily basis. If we wanted to do a kind of POC, wherein it requires response from a server. So we quickly bring up the Flask server in a server, black Flask application in a server, and we write our Python logic into it. And from our local machine, we hit the API and see the response is proper, and we complete the POC, and we plan for a very big development on top of it. So that's it. That's the server side scripting, and Python is very flexible for developing REST API developments. So REST is a very standard across the industry for creating any API-based communication between different servers. And this also enables a developer to quickly connect with different databases and fetch information. So when it comes to backend services, again, backend services can be divided into two pieces. So one is the logical part of it, and the another part is where we store all the information. For any application, we will be having a database which will hold the data for UI, which will hold data for the backend. So since Python being very familiar language, people have gone ahead and created standard libraries for connecting with the most common databases used, be it relational or vector-based databases like Cassandra or MongoDB, or be it relational databases like MySQL or Microsoft SQL or whatever it is, you name it. So we have all the libraries available. You just have to invoke the libraries into your programming, and you give the credentials, and we are good to go to do all sort of insert, delete, update, and all sort of operations. So that is the backend side of it, or the web development side of it. How are we using Python in data science world? For a data scientist, that's the magic of Python. For a data scientist, he doesn't have to know about what is a programming language, how does it run, what are the requirements, how do I install it. Instead of doing all these suckers, the only thing he has to know is how do I write print statement, or how do I import a library and use it for their requirement. Since Python is very much kind of English, so it will be easy for them to understand and how to write a program. That too, we have a lot of ready to use libraries. There are different set of libraries to pre-process the data and apply a model on top of it and plot them into a graph for them. So for a data scientist, it's all about visualization. How do I prepare my data? How do I validate my data? And how do I visualize my data? So for all of these things, we have libraries in Python. So be it NumPy and Pandas, those are majorly used for data accumulation and analysis. So Matplotlib, that's ready to use tool, and with that tool, whatever the data you put it into Pandas data frame can be visualized, and a graph can be plotted out of it. Similar to that, we have Plotty. That's again a UI tool for visualizing your data. And when it comes to data science, there is a very useful tool called Jupyter Notebook. So which enables the data scientist to interactively speak to the backend system and separate out different informations at different levels. So this networking is, you can imagine, right? Web API development is a different stream. Data science is a different stream, and the user is a different set. And when it comes to networking people doesn't know what data science people is doing. Networking people doesn't know what the backend services guy is doing. So it's for the connecting point for everyone is the same, the Python language. So when it comes to networking, imagine you have a Wi-Fi router at your home. So that is blocking all the phishing attacks, that is securing from all cybersecurity threats, the Trojan viruses that roam around the network. So we have like the Python have all the pre-built libraries that can be easily put into a small chipset. The beauty of Python is it doesn't require a complete system of a framework or an operating system to run. It just requires a small subset of a running system like Docker images or a library set on top of which we can run the Python programming. And having said, this is being widely used in kind of projects like Raspberry Pi to control home automation that we will see in the next part. So coming back to the networking, it also, since it supports all the basic networking libraries, it is very easy for anyone to customize Python code, create something, some security packages in the networking space. So another domain where people use Python widely is on the medical science. So in the field of the medical science and the data science are tightly coupled. So when it comes to data science, it's a very wide part. So people can take data of any sort of things and apply data science on top of. When it comes to medical science, it's all about the accuracy of data. The people's patients' data is handled through a platform. That means that should be reliable and that should be able to process a big set of data, and that should be customizable for medical science people. So people who are in clinical research, they feed in data like ECM data or EHR data into Python libraries, which are pre-developed, and analyze on top of it what kind of disease and what is the impact of that, what is the observation of a new medicine. There are ton of libraries that are available online. You can invoke them in your machine and understand how does the library behave, how does the scientific validation of any medical study is happening. So that is how it is very useful in medical science. And also, when it comes to medical science, it's all about speed. Someone doesn't have to work, sit and develop a complete set of library, right? It's everything is available online and ready to use. It's the matter of customizing them for your requirement, which one to choose. That is where the proficiency or knowledge is required, not on the coding side. So another stream in which Python shines is the automation and IoT. So when it comes to automation can be of any sort. Any sort means it can be an automation of web application or automation of a server spinning. So in case you have a server which is running 100 nodes, you wanted to maintain uniformity of library across all of them. And that requires like 200 shells scripting commands. So what Python can do is Python can take all those scripts, put them into we can put them into a single file and export it to all 100 nodes. And we will have a control of those 100 nodes using this script from a centralized place. And we maintain a uniformity of library across all the machines. This is just one use case of how we can automate, how we can achieve automation using Python. And in the space of IoT, it's all about speaking to different devices, right? So it's since Python being more of a decoupled operating system, it can work on a small Raspberry Pi, it can work on a enterprise grade system. So it's when it comes to communication, the same program can be run in the enterprise server, and the same code can be run in a small Raspberry Pi machine also. So having that said, people in the field of robotics and automation, sensor integrations, and automating the repetitive tasks, they prefer Python for doing their day in and day out jobs. So Python and testing. So automation is a different field. When it comes to testing, any sort of application, any code should be tested to make sure it runs effectively without any bug, and make sure the features are tested completely before we roll out to the any customer. So one famous framework which is Python is a robot framework in which it displays you the testing results in a way that's very useful and which that will be easy to read and understand what is going on. So this robot framework is majorly used for API based authentications. And similar to robot framework, we have a PyTest suite. In a matter of click, it will generate a bunch of uh, test suits for the code you have written. So that's the beauty of PyTest that we use in our day-to-day coding. Whenever we do development in our world, we always have to write a testing suite along with that. So these framework help us, and these framework come as handy for developers to create the test suites automatically. And for the validation of the code, we run this. This test suites provide us a complete UI displaying which test case passed, which test case failed, and that having said, ensuring quality and reliability of the application that we are developing. So Python. So when you start learning Python, there are different phases of Python learning. So you start with very basic print statement, and you learn how to write methods, and you learn how to write the implement dictionaries, object-oriented concepts inside that, and you keep on growing. At some point, you will need these frameworks that are predefined rules that are readily available. So I didn't get the window. Is everyone else able to see my screen? Kartika? Yeah, yeah. Thank you. Thank you for the feedback. Yeah. So these frameworks ensure you don't have to write the whole world of creating a server. There will be set of libraries. You just have to import them or set up them in XYZ way so that it will work for sure. You just have to change little bit and it will work. Uh, Having said, so when it comes to web development, we have the Django framework, which is more popular across the developer community, the Flask, the Pyramid, and Tornado. When it comes to data science world, we use Pandas, NumPy. So again, Pandas and NumPy we use in our native Python script. They don't have any sort of UI. They don't run like a server. But TensorFlow and PyTorch, they run like a kind of UI wherein you can display your data. And when it comes to networking, there are frameworks like Twisted and AAO, HTTP. And when it comes to game development, we have Pygame and Panda 3D. Those are widely used Python frameworks for different fields. So now I'll go through a brief about what is a Django framework. So this is a framework which is used for the web development. So web development that includes, as I said, a UI, a backend, and a DB. So what this Django framework will do is when you start the Django framework, it will have its own folder and it will have its own library files. So you just have to put the files in definite folders. If you're uploading an image, there is an image folder. You put the image and you refer that image in your UI code. So when you wanted to connect to a DB, there is a separate section called DB. You go and provide credential information, and you have to know your table structure. And in the backend code, um, you use that table information, that object, to connect to that to do all the CRUD operations. So also this has an admin interface wherein you can go ahead and see what is going on with the application, how many users are using it, how the kind of super user admin login. You can see all the informations about the instance, and and how it is behaving. And this is also scalable and secure. Since it's a framework, all the security practices are patched up and put it already inside the Django framework. So you don't have to worry about how the authentication is going to happen. And you just have to mention what kind of authentication, and you have to provide valid certifications into that. And that will, the Django framework will take care of everything about the end-to-end user to server authentications. So a brief on Flask framework. So this is a real-time application endpoint framework. Sorry, voice is low. Just a minute. Am I audible now properly? Okay. Yeah. Kind of very lightweight framework. You just have to invoke the framework in your local machine. So comparatively, when you compare this with Spring Boot or Spring Hibernate, which is very famous framework for using it in the backend services. So this is very lightweight. It just contains 2 to 3 files. When you download it from online, you will see it is just having 2 to 3 files. You just have to annotate with the annotation saying this is a post call, this is a get call, and inside that you can start writing your logic XYZ, and you bring up the server, and it should be able to grasp your API calls, process it, and provide output. So that's a very basic level. That's a very basic of the programming languages on the web development. So, and when it comes to Flask framework, this is very minimalistic, as I said, and this can be put into very small machineries also. And this completely supports the RESTful API response framework. So when it comes to industrial usage, it's all about how fast you can develop an application. For such scenarios, different developers will use different IDs. So IDs come in handy when you wanted to write a very big chunk of programming, and that includes 20 files, 200 files, whatever it may be. And there are different IDEs along with different use cases. So when it comes to PyCharm, so PyCharm, you have a readily available. There is a community version of it. You can download it, use it forever, no restrictions. So when I rank these IDEs, PyCharm and Visual Studio Code are the topmost. So they are ready to use, and there are a lot of tutorials available to learn how to use an IDE. Using an IDE is a kind of art, wherein once you learn that, your development will be super fast. It includes development helping paradigms. Also, it helps you in debugging. It helps you in memory management. Helps you in understand how does the code flow works. So it's very basic requirement when you wanted to learn about how a Python programming works, or how an industry works using Python programming. It's very mandatory to learn these IDEs, at least 2 to 3 of them. So when it comes to a special case um, IDE, a kind of the third one, Jupyter Notebook. So that is basically um, used when you are doing very complex programming development. So the major difference between the PyCharm and the Jupyter Notebook is, so in PyCharm, when you are running a code, it, let's say it contains 20 methods. It goes ahead and runs 20 methods every time when you run. So the beauty of Jupyter Notebook is you can put them into 20 different sections in the Jupyter Notebook, and you compile them, and make an output variable, whatever it is, you keep them in a temporary, it keeps it in a temporary storage. And when required, that can be run individually. So what this enables is you don't have to run the entire code base in the special case of running scientific models, which will take 1 hour or 2 hours to run the model and generate an output out of it. So those scenarios, Jupyter Notebook comes as a handy, in which you can easily decouple those scientific models and run the required ones. So we are nearing to the end of the session. So when it comes to Python Vault, it's all about the ease of usage. Ease of usage in the sense it's very easy to learn and very easy to understand how a program works and how can you utilize the program for your day-to-day usages and day-to-day problem solvings. Any questions, team?
Yeah, hi sir.
Yes, Anil Kumar.
Yes, sir. Sir, as in beginner, how we can proceed as in students, how we can proceed from academia to industry, and how much skill set we need to acquire for the Python to get absorbed in the companies or something like that.
So when it comes to companies, so we look for the candidate who is having more understanding about the basics when it comes to Python. So how does a variable declaration works, right? So when you want to start, so again, this comes to the question of what do you want to do in Python world? Are you going to do are you going to be a data scientist, or you are going to be a hardcore networking developer, or you wanted to be a web application developer? So this question, the question you asked, right? How do I gain my knowledge and crack any interview? This comes to this set of questions. When you wanted to enter as a web application developer, you need to know how a REST API works, how you can invoke REST API using Python, how you can develop a REST API using Python, how can you make logics, the backend logics, connect to a DB. So these kind of questions, when you apply for a job, these kind of questions comes into picture. They will mention, okay, I'm looking for a web developer who is expertise in Python. So being an interviewer, I will ask those kind of questions. When I'm into the data science world, I will ask about, okay, how many libraries you know about in Python? Do you know pandas? How do you execute a panda? How do you vectorize the data in pandas? And how do you plot a graph out of pandas? So when you want to learn Python, the basic is same for all. It's all about variables, it's all about methods, it's all about the if-else conditions, while loop and everything. But when it comes to the level two is where it differentiate what you wanted to do with Python, first of all. The question will be derived based upon that. Anil, you got some understanding about
Yeah, yeah.
how
Got it, sir. Thank
we
you.
see Python people? Yes. Samina. Samina. Yes.
Sir, to work as a data scientist, so what are the libraries to be practiced, sir? What are the main libraries to be practiced?
So when it comes to data science, okay, so you have to understand how are we using data science using Python. So why someone will come to Python for data science, right? So because there are ready to use libraries. To start with, you can learn about the scikit-py. So, and there are like different, I'll go through the previous slides. So you can note down these things, like these are all the basic libraries. So once you understand these libraries, you will have an understanding about what do you exactly want to do with data science. So data science is again a very vast topic. Data science in which world is another question. So as I said, medical science is one stream, and there are different streams on data science. People use data science for predicting their customers' buying ability, or how often a customer will come and buy. The library that you are learning is suitable for only particular set of use cases, and a library which requires the desired set of output will require a different set of libraries. So to start with, you should be able to understand what is mean by numpy, what is mean by pandas, how does that work. Take some sample data set, put it into it, vectorize the data, write it into a CSV file, write it into a JSON file. Just have to play around, understand what is the what it is, by the way. Then you can apply some real-time data. You can do your own POC and understand how does the library work, and you can go from there. So once you finish these basic steps, you will be in a position to understand a company's requirement. You are when you are applying, going to apply for a um, kind of cyber security space company. You know, okay, if I know these three libraries, I can crack this interview. Or if you're going for a medical science company, you should know, okay, if I know these three libraries, how do they work? How can I customize them for their requirement? Then you're done. So that is how you start using start choosing data science in Python world, and you grow on top of it.
Yeah, hi sir. Good evening.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much.
Hey, yeah.
I'm audible, sir.
Those, yes.
Thanks. So actually, you said right. We need to look into level 2. What we have to choose for Python.
Yeah.
So in that, actually, first level we need to have basics. That's a common for everything. So for data science,
Yeah.
OOPS will be useful, or it should be neglectful while using libraries. OOPS concepts. I'm talking.
What is it? I'm not getting completely.
No, in Python we have object-oriented concepts, right? Encapsulation. I mean, of course, Java is there. So while using
Mhm.
data science libraries, NumPy, Pandas, so we will use object-oriented structure or else basics only.
So this includes both. So why are we using object-oriented languages first of all? The first thing is the security. First thing is security. Second thing is memory management, and to have less code. So when it comes to this data science library, these are already following both concepts. Okay, and these are developed for low memory accuracy, and make sure this doesn't have any memory leakage or any other security threats. When you are invoking those functions, and if you are not doing any sort of on top of it, oops concept, everything to be implemented. People use these libraries just to visualize data, right? They do processing on top of it, and visualize data. In that case, you just have to write like 20, 30 lines of code, and you're done. When you're developing these kind of libraries, that is when you need to be very careful. You have to be very proficient with the object-oriented concepts, and make sure the library that you're developing is compatible in a security wise, in a runtime wise, it doesn't do any memory leakages, and you have to make sure all those edge cases cover.
Yeah, it's helpful, sir. Is we have any session next tomorrow for OOPS structures like that? I mean, hands-on.
Yeah, tomorrow session, we take
Sorry, your
mainly
voice is
focusing on
breaking.
how do we do test.
Yeah.
Just speed up. Yeah, I think it should be better now.
Yeah, sir. Actually, what's the tomorrow's agenda, sir?
Tomorrow's agenda is morely about how we can use Python programming in testing. A brief
Testing.
section, I'd say. Yeah, they got a different kind of framework and how do we do network security using Python libraries, all those stuff.
Oh, if possible, we can do for OOPS because it's very important, right?
Yeah, so OOPS concept, so it's the same. So the concept is same. So if you want to understand what is OOPS and everything, the concept remains same with Java, same with C++, same with Python. It's all about
It's the same with understanding, I mean, what I'm expecting is uh, some real world examples of how that works. It's good in discussing in webinars. That's why.
okay. Yeah, we can come up maybe with some sort of use cases
Yeah.
wherein so again these OOPS concepts were born out of design patterns. I can try to see if I could explain a design pattern and we can apply OOPS concept on top of it.
Yeah, just I mean, actually, we everyone study that class is instance. I mean, object instance of class, and class is a blueprint. Those things and all will that's fine. But in fact, those are we're taking examples in real time. Actually, how we can able to use OOPS concepts efficiently. So where we can use and what
Hmm.
like that we can discuss sometime.
Yeah. So, but basically, it's all about need and requirement. So when it
Mm,
requires that kind of, so when you write a program or when you solution a problem for your customer, you start with, okay, how can I, what is the problem in a real world? Is it a kind of repeating thing, right? So that I can use the concept of class, the concept of all of those. It's all about the problem statement.
okay.
Yeah. So we cannot. So when, for writing a simple program, there is no need of implementing the object-oriented structures. So that is
Mm,
another advantage of Python. So Python is basically built on top of C and C++, right? So nobody handles those OOPS concepts internally. So when you invoke a particular method, it is already having uh, OOPS concept enabled libraries inside that will do memory management, that will do the security management, and everything.
okay. So security management, it comes to like whatever required object, it will go to the class like that, sir.
Yeah.
So I mean, in class we'll return the source code, right? So what whenever object call function calls, it will go particular there and based on public modifiers or sorry interface modifiers, public, private, protected. So based on that, it will be security, right?
Yes. And basically, you can so the libraries that are available online, right? You
Yeah.
use the library of the request. Okay. Say, for example, the request module is used for making the REST API calls. And when you inspect what is a library, it's again like a set of files, right? That set of files you can investigate actually. So the problem statement is how do I make a secure HTTP called API to another server, right? You can you have the problem statement here, and you can decode the library that is already available online and try to interlink. Okay, this is the problem statement. how a
Okay.
program can speak to a server or server using a HTTPS protocol. How does the HTTPS protocol work? There are methods inside the library, request library, and you can go in depth in that manner and understand how the
Hmm.
object-oriented structure is implemented in Python. That's
Yeah.
very good use case for you to understand how you can effectively use object-oriented concepts in your program. It's kind of cutting, right? You have the problem statement. You go to the library and see how they have written the based upon the prepared standards, and that standards you can maintain in your code and go from there.
Yeah, yes, I get it. So based on problem statement, we need to observe everything. Yeah, we can able to use oops or non oops. We can do the based on our statements. Yeah, got it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's not to specifically use every time oops. So whenever required, we need to use. Otherwise, it's not.
Yeah, whenever is required. For a for a
I
hello
mean,
world program, there is no
in
need of
Java, no.
for
No,
hoops.
no, in Java, we need to write class name right first. So likewise, in Python, it's not necessary to use like that, right? So for all problem also, we need to do the class name first in Java. So that's what I'm just interconnecting.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
like that, it's not needed. Yeah.
No. Well, when you
So it's just single line code for all.
yeah, so that's the beauty, right? So this is a layer on top of another programming language. So what that means is it's basically built for the easy use of user. People like the data scientist, people like um, a layman who doesn't want to understand. So when you ask people who are using Python, who are not an extensive programmer, they will not understand this oops concept to the depth that Java people will know. They will know
Hmm.
like how to implement that. But in your day-to-day life, if you ask out of 100, 30 people will say, yes, I'm using oops concepts for their hardcore library. So when it comes to library development,
Hmm.
of oops concept. When it comes to an application development on top of a library, which will just say, okay, speak to this DB, fetch this information, and forward it to another service.
Yeah.
There is a use of class which will be invoked only for calling that particular DB. So there is a need, right? There is a need. There comes the concept.
Yes. Thanks a lot, sir. See you in next session.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any questions, team? Algo trading. VS Code, I would say. Because the Jupyter notebook is not suitable for your requirement. So Jupyter notebook is kind of stage by stage programming. Thank you. Any other questions, team? Inita Simon, yes. You're on mute. Saravanan, yes, Saravanan. You're on mute, by the way.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, yes, Saravanan.
Sir, you have mentioned some software for testing, no, sir? Three software you have mentioned. So in organizations, in companies, those are the software which you use practically in your company, sir.
No, so for testing, right? I have used
Yes, sir.
robot framework extensively. So my work was based mostly about developing some libraries for my company, wherein I use robot framework to build test suits and make sure whatever the change I am doing is absolutely fine and it doesn't break any other functionality. And again, when doing development, every developer is supposed to do a unit testing. So whenever I change the block of code or develop a block of code, this unit test library will automatically generate the basic test cases. So similar to that, PyTest, that will give a beautiful report for you. So this is basically of my domain wherein I will be using a test suite for validating my library. So when it comes to web applications, there are things when you want to test your application. Sai Santosh, can you please mute yourself? Yeah, thank you. So when it comes to web applications, you have testing suites like Selenium, which comes in handy. So depends upon what kind of testing you are doing. There are different set of Python frameworks available for your use cases. I see a question from
Thank you, sir.
Hari Priya. I have not used Google Colab, so maybe you can give it a try and explore how it is. So we are left with 2 minutes. Any last question? I'm not sure. I cannot commit to that for future sessions, but I will try my best.
Yes, sir. We can follow in LinkedIn. Can you share your LinkedIn? Sir?
Yes, you can. I will share you my LinkedIn page.
In future, if you have any suggestions, you can message me.
Yeah, you can. So this is my LinkedIn.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Yeah. Okay.
Hello, sir.
Okay. Yes,
Shall we wind up, sir?
I think yes.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Thank you all. Thanks for joining.
Thank you so much for the interactive session, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your valuable session.
Thank you, sir.